Good evening, everyone. Now, I wanted to do a video about artillery, and I quickly realised that if you try and do a video about artillery, and particularly the kill chain or the fire control systems, what's called the FDC in American terms, Fire Direction Center, and talk about how artillery ties together and what my vision for my what if artillery systems are. You quickly have to include other assets. So I'm going to do this as a precursor, and then I'll start actually looking at it in detail along with some of the theory of artillery. So let's start with this, which is the current force mixture for the Malagasy What If battle group heavy, with all of the artillery supporting assets deployed. Now, I say artillery because if you start looking at artillery, you end up pretty quickly getting onto surface-to-air missile systems and engineering and logistics. So I've put in a few logistics assets here. And also, if you look at artillery, you end up thinking about the end user. So who is actually going to benefit from the artillery, which is the fighting units. Now, there's a couple of things that I need to do. And first of all, with the Malagasy Armed Forces What If, focusing on an expeditionary battle model, some of these heavy assets will be remaining at home, where they'll either be mothballed or used by the Army Reserve Force as a battle reserve and to protect the Madagascan state in case of any invasion. So they're primarily taking light assets, but when you talk about light assets, and I'm saying sub 37 ton mainly for ease of transport in the A400Ms, you end up with an artillery system like the G6 Rhino, which is 46 tons. However, once this can be shipped in theatre, it's very mobile because it's a wheeled vehicle. Gives it great strategic mobility, very well suited to the African environment, being designed in South Africa. So I left these out of the last video, but you're going to want to bring those. And if you bring those, well, do you really need to bring the light guns, and what's their purpose? So I'm going to look at a way of streamlining this and making it more appropriate. Now, some of the engineering assets as well are too heavy for the A400M, and whilst you would need them in a conventional battle, such as these leopard-themed IMR/conversions, you probably won't be bringing those with you for an expeditionary campaign in Africa. But if it was a peer-to-peer war or Madagascar was being invaded, you'd need those. But what you would need is lighter vehicles like the M9 Ace, which is transportable in a C-130 Hercules. The M9 Ace, this one's from Badger Models. Lovely, lovely kit. I've got one more here I just need to weather in. And the high mobility excavator from JCB. So you're going to be bringing those. And the reason you're going to be bringing those is you need to dig in, and artillery needs to be protected. Now, with the development and advancement in drones, you probably will be bringing more drones, and that means, well, are you going to be bringing the light guns? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out some of the obsolete units and get down to a better force mix. Now, when units are obsolete, and that's like the ADAT system where it's completely obsolete, there's no reloads available, it's not made anymore, it needs to go into museums. Things like the M109 A2 here and its support vehicles can go to the reserves or be mothballed. These vehicles here, the ERC 90 series, these lack basic IED protection. So they will be going into museums or being disposed of because they are not fit for purpose. In terms of the heavy formations, so you've got the CV90, which with its extra armour is over the weight limit for the A400, but can be shipped without it and then have the add armour kits issued. the Namer, which is not that many in service, and the Merkava 4M, the windbreaker with the trophy APS, and the Axarit. They're just too heavy for expeditionary warfare, as are the Merpards. So I'll go through this and I'll remove some of the obsolete ones and the questionable ones. And regarding the light gun is a bit of a conundrum because it is easily transportable, perfect for parachute operations or marine operations. However, it is not the standardised NATO calibre of 155. Now, if you are taking the M11A2s, which are very transportable, these are actually quite light guns, and these are the more modernised ones. One's finished and one needs finishing. Then you've got 203mm, you've got 105mm, and you've got 155. But in the Centauros, you've also got 105mm. So, and then you've got 120mm. So whilst it does create some logistical issues, if you have a supply problem like the war in Ukraine is showing with 155 NATO standard shells, but you still have 203mm available and 105 available and 120, then you can keep firing. So sometimes a range of calibers is a problem, and other times a range of calibers is a good thing because it means you can keep fighting. Now, the other thing to point out is we're working here from the teeth of the battle group with drone support, light screening forces, heavy forces, heavy reconnaissance forces, local air defence forces and drone teams, light guns, medium guns, general support artillery, engineering logistics support, and here is the fire direction control centre, which needs signal vehicles here to communicate all the digital fire control commands. Then you've got radars, counter-battery radars, anti-drone radars, and command posts. You've got various options then when it comes to what would be called the divisional systems. So if you think of this as a brigade combat team forward, as the Americans call it, or as we call it in Britain, the battle group. So the battle group or brigade combat team, and again, this is all publicly available information. So this forward is your fighting, your teeth element, and this backward, is your support element. So this would be your divisional or regimental. Your divisional would be this line here, and your regimental would be this line here. So you work battle group or brigade combat team, regimental, and then divisional. So the divisional pieces that you could bring the M270 MLRS, but then you've got a weight penalty. So what you may deploy instead is the M142. These are the unarmoured cab versions of the HIMARS. This is C-130 portable, very lightweight system without the armour, shoot and scoot, very accurate, and you can take those on your expeditionary campaign. Likewise with the assets here at regimental and divisional, you might choose to leave the M270s or mothball those or use those for the army reserves back in Madagascar, but you're definitely going to be bringing your Patriot system, your NASAMS, which is here, and your Iron Dome to protect your divisional assets or your landing area or your troop build-up area. So if you're going to get incoming fire of ballistic missiles or cruise missiles into your troop preparation area, your forming up area, then you will be using, or the Malagasy forces will be using, the Iron Dome. They'll also be using the salty sea guard dog system to protect ships or landing sites, and the Penguinator to protect against anti-ship attacks. Logistics wise, you may have support at the divisional level of divisional engineering assets such as pontoon bridges, your supply and replenishment systems, your medical setup. I've excluded the lower tier medical setup from this. And then you might have bigger assets like the D9 dozer, and those require their own transport, which is provided by the Het system. Again, this is a Badger's printed model, very good model. And these will transport your divisional engineering assets or your bigger assets around and give you mobility for long road movements of things which are over the 37-ton weight limits, like the G6. So there's a range of options, and I'm going to go through now and take out obsolete systems like the M109, focus on what they actually need, leave some non-standard systems like the Type 96, again, heavy piece of equipment, and then let's just focus on what is current and replace these vehicles with foxhounds. So we've got the current makeup for a expeditionary force, and then we'll look at the artillery in more detail. So I hope that makes some sense and is a good introduction to the series.